Welcome to the C.L.I.M.B. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. Why do we call it leverage? Because it's the power to add influence. It's the power to act effectively. It's what you're going to need in the new music industry to get that manager, to get the publishing deal, to get the booking agency, to get the record deal. You're going to have a reputation. Nobody can really afford in the music industry at this point in time to develop raw talent. You're going to have to do some more refinements on your own. That's going to give you leverage. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. And the genius that came up with that is my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you can write like a pro, do business like a pro, and on the regular, Brent actually connects you to the pros so you get a shot. You get an opportunity and to create a relationship and move forward. You can find Brent real easy at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. Daredevil has created over 25 national TV opportunities for their indie artists. That's right, indie artists. By making them discoverable. They've created multiple tour opportunities, and through the power of digital marketing data, they've attracted a number of investors. That's the money, people, for their artists. And the investors dig the numbers because they know numbers don't lie, because numbers can't talk. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D. What's up, my brother?
How you been?
Man, good. We're on spring break here and getting a late start this morning.
Okay.
It's all crazy town.
We also found out something super important just recently from a tweet or something like that.
Yes.
About a town close to you?
Yes. My wife's hometown is 18 minutes from Jasper, Missouri. And now, if you don't know about Jasper, Missouri, a little nugget of trivia, that's where the movie Roadhouse was fictionally set in Jasper, Missouri. So all this time we talk about Roadhouse and you. My wife's hometown is like 18 minutes from there.
Dude, you should
go. It's all coming full circle.
Find Dalton.
I know. A bear fell on me.
I get that a lot.
I know. I thought you'd be taller. They don't say that to me.
No, I didn't think you'd be so skinny.
No one says that to me either.
But what's been going on, brother? What are we going to learn today?
We are going to talk about this came in a variety of forms, some different questions from some climbers and some people in the songwriting pro community, and just about, hey, do you only write for money? Like every song do you write, are you trying to make a buck off of it, or do you just write for love and the money happens? And so basically the question is, as a pro songwriter, do you write each song with the goal of profit, or at least in the beginning, did you just write out of passion and success naturally flowed from that passion? So we're going to answer that question, at least for me, and hopefully an answer that will be helpful and relevant to you climbers out there.
Dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, passion or profit, baby.
There we go. All right, well, let's take care of some business first.
Mm-hmm.
The C.L.I.M.B podcast is proud to partner with disc makers. They've been supporting indie musicians like you before indie music was even a thing, before your grandfather even knew about it. When you're ready to make CDs, DVDs, vinyl, which is selling really, really well, or if you're going to distribute your music and videos with customized USBs, go to www.discmakers.com. That's DISC makers.com. It's the only place you need to go.
And while you're there, click on the Guides and Resources tab and download some of their excellent free guides. They've just revised and expanded their Home Studio Handbook, which has a ton of great advice and information for newbies and for studio veterans. You can find them online, again, at www.discmakers.com, or give them a call at 800-468-9353. That's 800-468-9353.
Hey, and if you haven't joined the C.L.I.M.B community yet, please do so. Find it on, do it. Yeah, do it. Find it on Facebook. Request to be let in. It's a private group, but we let everybody in who requests it, and unless we're nice until it's time to not
be nice. Right.
And going back to that Roadhouse movie.
Exactly. We will Roadhouse you, because apparently my wife's probably got some people that can do that.
That's right. Yeah, you're in. You're more in than you thought you were in.
Up in the country, didn't know. So.
But there's a lot. There's out of all the communities, there's a lot of activity there. It's not a dead community by any stretch.
And it's not a spammy.
Yeah, it's not spammy.
A lot.
It's a lot of good questions. A lot of people answering, coming in. Every single time I respond to something, if I get in there, it's been happening. It's been developing for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. They're all worthy, awesome, smart responses to a songwriting question or a marketing question.
Mm-hmm.
I love that about it. And then I'll add to it and go on a thing, but it's good. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you get wherever you listen to your podcast, we're everywhere. So that way you get them in order, all the main episodes on Tuesdays, the mini-sodes on Friday, and you can consume them at will. Take 30 seconds, leave a rating and review. Make sure that 5-star, hopefully you like us that much.
I hope so.
Let other people know what you think about the content on here. That helps us be more legit. That's called social proof. And then even bigger piece of social proof, and the best compliment that you could give Brent and I would be to always share the podcast. Put it, if it's speaking to you, if it's working for you, if you're a regular listener, if there's one episode that just blew your mind, that made sense, that connected a dot or two for you, then please tell people about it. Tell your friend about it. Tell another songwriter about it. Share it on your social media. Let them know why. And other people will listen if you say it. If you say it, it's 100% true. If we say it, it's 50% true.
It's suspect. Right? You're right. Yeah.
Speaking of reviews.
We got a new one, don't we?
We do. This one's really cool too. This is a 5-star review. It's from Gonzo 2001. And it's the title of the review is Real Talk. With an
Real Talk.
Point. Just listen to my first episode and I'm hooked. No sugarcoating here, just real talk and advice on the do's and don'ts of the songwriting business by guys who have been there and done that. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Gonzo 2001.
Thank you, Gonzo. That's awesome.
Yeah, except I didn't get been there, done that. I mean, I got close on it, but I was never a professional songwriter.
Well, you did the professional musician on the road making a living, right?
I did that. That's true.
So you've been there, done that, right?
There you go. Well, that's true. I did make some money.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's for reals. More than most people do. Oh, by the way, okay, I got to before getting into this, something funny happened the other day. I'm going to pull up my Facebook Messenger. So some of you may run into this. Applying some of the stuff that we recommend. You may get a little bit of pushback on people. Let me see if I can find this. Oh, I hope I can find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. So, we talk about reaching out to people and, making it about them and free gifts and stuff. And so everyone that sends me a Facebook friend request on my, Songwriting Pro profile, not my personal one, but my other one, and I always respond to them personally. And so in this case, it was a fellow named John, which is, I think, a common enough name. I can go ahead and give his name. So he sent me a friend request. He came to me. I'm like, hey, John, hey, man, thanks for reaching out. Wanted to connect. I appreciate it. Here's a way of saying thanks. Here's a free gift for you. It's my ebook, Think Like a Pro Songwriter. I've had some cuts and here's some stuff I've learned in the business. You can just go and you can go have it.
Go forth and hopefully learn.
Hope it serves you well, right? Yeah. So put his name in there's personal response and it's a message back, right? You send me a request, I message you, and then I accept your friend request. And this is the response I got. I'm not interested in buying a book. You write lyrics? I need help with lyrics. And then 3 hours later, and this is on a Saturday, 3 hours later, hello, can you help me write lyrics? So,
how about now?
So my response back is, well, it's a free book. And I also share a lot of lyric writing advice for free on both my blog at, songwritingpro.com and the link, and on my podcast, The C.L.I.M.B, which is on iTunes, Stitcher, and here's a link as well. Free stuff. I also, I do some one-on-one songwriter coaching. You can see the details in my calendar and book a session at, songwritingpro.com/coaching. You know what the response was?
No.
You are a moron. F off. Only he spelled it out. You suck.
Wow.
End of our conversation. So, John, wherever you are, thank you for the no-star review. I appreciate it. Stop taking. Some people just won't take yes for an answer. So right. I know. Can you help me write lyrics? Yes. Here's a way. Here's a way. Here's a way for free. You suck. Okay. All right. There we go.
Yeah. So this coaching, but he's like, no. I want to get on the phone with you for free. And he didn't even know what he wanted. He just had
I don't know. But John, I can understand why you're having trouble finding co-writers.
Yeah.
But that, anyway, just a little sidebar. It really tickled me. I couldn't wait to tell him, this is funny. But when you're doing this stuff and you're building your business and you're reaching out to people and you're giving stuff away, some people just won't take yes for an answer, and don't let that deter you, because you're out there trying to provide value and you're not slamming it down people's throats, right? John, he's asking for help. I'm like, here's ways I can help you. You can't let that.
Some people
can't let that bother you.
Every time. So I'll get that every once in a while. Just I want to share this with everybody, because if you're trying to create a culture, that means you're trying to connect with people. You're trying to get a conversation started. And you know what? You're going to, every single day, you're going to get an a-hole. Just wear like a badge of honor. So my dad used to tell me, like, you're going to meet an a-hole like that every single day of your life. So I can't protect you from it. You got to figure out how you're going to deal with it. And mostly when it happens to me, almost like 99% of the time, the person's just having like a really bad day.
Yeah.
So they just decided you just happen to be collateral damage in the line of fire. And because sometimes I'll do that, like when somebody unsubscribes, and I love unsubscribes, right? Like, right. It's better for my percentages. Like, I don't want you hanging out if you don't get it. If you're done with it, maybe you've learned everything you've learned and it's time to move on. That's fine. Right. Yeah. It's all good. But then, sometimes it comes with a nastygram, or sometimes I'll just get a nastygram in my email it's almost always about a headline of a podcast that we send out, and they don't bother listening. They just to the headline, as if it's politics or something. Sometimes I'll write them back, but totally like, hey, you know what? If these words were really made you feel that hurt and tore you to, I want to apologize. I just come out and apologize. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. We don't have to hang out anymore. That's totally cool. But I just wonder if, maybe you're just having a really bad day, because I don't feel like you listen to the podcast. Right. Yeah. And then, you know what? Like a lot of times nothing happens. They just go away. Right. But sometimes they'll come back. Yeah, you're right. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll get an apology. And I'll just put my arm around them. Like, dude, it's okay.
There's one time.
Because it takes a lot of energy to be that negative.
It does.
There's type it out.
And you can turn sometimes haters into, fans or whatever. So, there was this one time a couple of years ago on LinkedIn, and, I was sharing a blog post in some group or something. And at the bottom is like, hey, and here's your free ebook gift from Brent, and somebody was like, oh, this is whatever, just to sell your book and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, it's a free book. And, whatever. And we conversating back and forth a couple of times. Next thing I know, he's asking to write the song with me. Yeah. I'm like, well, that went a long way from I'm just a slimy salesman trying to sell my book to.
Well, see, you don't know the story, right? I mean, that's just it. Like, you don't know what happened. Like, maybe just before he got screwed on some guy who wanted to be like a songwriting guru, or was giving him the whole schmooze thing. And then all of a sudden it's like, but for $2,459, you can be a better songwriter tomorrow. Here's my plan.
And you know what? When that first started happening, when I was first getting into this and trying to help people and stuff, some of that stuff like hit deep, like it hurt.
Yeah.
Like it hurt me in the feels going, am I? Yeah. You start having that self-doubt going, am I slimy? Is this, should I not be doing this? But then you see all those people that are connecting with publishers or connecting and writing their best songs and are sending you thank yous and stuff. You're like, this is for them. I'm helping them. So, it may be the same thing with your music, that you're like, some people, haters are going to hate, but the lovers are going to love it. And I've written that, so don't. But, think about the people that are digging your music, or that will dig it once you get past whatever hurdle it is. Don't. Yeah. But anyway, that's right. Big long sidebar just to get to what we're talking about today, passion and profit. But actually, it kind of weaves in there a little bit. So to get back to it. So as a pro songwriter, do you write each song with the goal of profit, or at least in the beginning, did you just write out of passion and then success naturally flowed from that passion? And the answer is yes and no. So although you're probably looking for a little bit something more, so I'll go ahead and not end the podcast there. I wrote, and I still write, for both passion and profit. I write for both. I've always loved creating. I mean, it started with making up my own comic books when I was a kid, and it moved on to short stories and bad poetry and songwriting. And creating something new has kind of always given me a buzz. I mean, whether it's a new kind of just a pun, a wordplay, something when I was a kid, that made me giggle, or a comic book or a short story or a poem or whatever, I could just get off on creating. I love it. Pure and simple, I love it. So that's a passion. That's how I'm wired. That's something I love doing. And that passion for songwriting is what led me to write for profit. Now, why do I want to write for profit? So I can spend more time writing. I can literally afford to spend more time writing and creating and doing what I'm passionate about, right? So if I can make a living writing songs, then it means I can spend a lot more time on my passion. I don't have to jam songwriting into the cracks between a day job, family time, laundry, and sleep. And I've done that, and I don't like it. And maybe you're doing it now, and you're like raising your hand going, I feel you, Brent. I'm on the climb, and I'm having to jam my passion in around, hopefully you're passionate about your family too, but a day job and commutes and all this other have-tos, right?
Yeah.
Well, if I can replace a day job with songwriting or creative pursuits, then I get to focus more on songwriting, family, friends, and sleep. I haven't figured out a way to avoid laundry yet, but maybe one day. But, you can replace some of the have-tos with more of the want-tos. And so that's why I write for profit, because it profits me not just financially, because really there are other things I could do that could profit me more, sustainably or reliably or predictably than songwriting. But here's the thing about passion, though. Passion keeps you going long enough to get good enough and to build the relationships that make profit possible. I'll say that again. Passion keeps you going long enough to get good enough and to build enough relationships that make profit possible. So it's just too hard to get to the profit if you don't have the passion first. Like if you're only writing for profit, like, well, I've seen, there was a guy in my hometown, he went off and he wrote a Tim McGraw hit. Now he came back in a Cadillac. I don't want to do that. Sell me a song. It's not going to happen. If you're going after the money, you got to have the passion for it. Otherwise,
it won't be worth it.
Not going to happen. You're not going to stick it out. I mean, the passion is what gets you to stick around through the sucky parts, which is when you're writing bad songs and nobody cares and you're knocking on doors and nobody's answering, or they show you right back out the door, all that stuff. So that's the thing. I write for both because I have the passion for it, and the profit lets me do more what I want to do. If I were in a cubicle right now, I would not be talking to you, Johnny, about like music and stuff that I love, right? That's something I'm passionate about. So even this other stuff.
That's right.
The blogging about it, the events, getting to hang out with other songwriters, getting to hang out with you and do a podcast and talk about this stuff. It's all in the sphere of what I'm passionate about. And it allows me more time to do that stuff.
Yeah. I think if you look at the really great like actors and stuff, that you'll see they kind of vacillate between a passion project, right? That's just got some sort of meaty thing that they want to portray,
like the indie Woody Allen film or the Sundance kind of thing.
A Sundance movie, a Sundance movie. It's not good, and then they'll do like a summer blockbuster because they got to keep the name out there. And they're, by the way, by doing that, if you think about it, they are bringing more people to the passion project because the name stays relevant. The name stays big. There's a draw, right? Yeah.
More people are like, I want to go see the new, what's his name? Well, whoever it might be, Chris Evans movie, because I freaking love him as Captain America. And now he's doing this other thing. What's going on there? Just because I think he's awesome.
You're aware of him. Yeah.
And you may check it out, this little black and white film period piece that you wouldn't have seen otherwise or whatever.
I've seen that too, like with artists when they talk to me and they're like, but I love reggae, I love country, I love hip hop, I love rock and roll, and I love classical. And my dream has always been to put a record together with all those things. Like, and I'm like, okay, no. That's not going to work. Like, you just can't mix all those parties together. Nobody's going to get it.
You can, but it's not going to help fund the next record.
Yeah, well, okay, let's say you have a huge hip-hop hit. Then they go and they buy the record, and they start to dig into you. But you've got a country song and a reggae song and all this, and they're like pissed off because they wanted more of what you hooked them with, right? Or if it's a country thing and vice versa. It's just like you can't ride that many horses with one butt. But it doesn't mean you have to forsake them. And this is my point, that think about what John Mayer did with he did pop, very well.
Very well.
Incredible musician, incredible writer. But then he does the John Mayer Trio. It's a straight up blues record. that sold 1 million copies. When was the last time a blues record sold 1 million copies? So he exposed a boatload of people to this other passion that he had, and they loved it.
Yeah.
Because he did this other thing first. You gotta be intentional about how you dole it out. I think you're right. I think too many people focus on the result. And like, well, what's that gonna look like? And it's, man, just what if you just did the work? What if
you better enjoy the work. Speaking of films again, I heard a filmmaker or read some quote somewhere that says, some people think we make movies to make money. No, I make money to make more movies.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with my music is like, why do I make music for money? Well, no, I make money off my music so I can make more music.
Yeah.
So I don't have to go sit in a cubicle and not make music.
Yeah. And I think, I think, first of all, I remember an interview with Johnny Dwinell who was talking about, I don't remember the name of the movie, but he always had a certain process that he wrote songs. That's the way that he did it. And then he was a lead singer of Warrant. That was a big 80s band. But then he got asked to do movies or do music for a film. And he's like, I never did that before. Right. So it was like, it kind of freaked him out a little bit. But he was also like, it was really interesting because all of a sudden I had to scratch this other itch. The story was already there. I had to be writing lyrics that were relevant to what was going on and write music that was relevant to what was going on. And it just made me think about it differently. But man, that's like if you've only ever done chest your whole life in the gym and then you woke up and you're like, today I'm going to do back. It's going to be a little sore at first, but it's like, it's healthy, right? Because it gives you just another perspective and another way of honing that craft, of getting better at your craft. Like, even if you're writing for, what I'm saying is, even if you're writing for profit and you're sitting there trying to think about the way that a specific artist wants to serve up this lyric that maybe isn't the way that you would do it, but you're not the artist, first of all.
Right.
What's wrong with that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I actually had this conversation with first of all, with just about every artist that's ever been like self-contained on their writing, when they trip about a co-write. When the idea of a co-write comes up, they're like, ooh, I don't know. And the first thing that comes out of their mouth, I could flash a sign. It's like, right now he's about to say, I don't know if they're going to get me.
Yeah.
It's like, no, they just write for everybody. They're not going to get you though.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'll tell them, I'm like, look, because in their head, what they think, and this is what I wonder if some people think this in the writing community out there, is like, if I write it, there's some sort of etiquette that says I got to cut it if I'm an artist.
Oh yeah.
And what if it's not for me? And so,
I can say from prior experience for sure, just because you're out with an artist doesn't guarantee they're going to cut it.
Yeah, well, that's right. Or if you're the artist, right? Maybe you're an artist that's doing co-writes now, and you're kind of getting into that thing. And I'm like, just go write. I mean, imagine what you're going to learn sitting in a room with a bunch of other people who are passionate about this as you are, number one, and in Nashville on Music Row, they make a living doing it. So what are you going to bring from that to your own writing? And if you write something and it's not your brand, or would be something that you would never cut as an artist, fine. But you still created, you still learn, you still flex that muscle. You just did it a different way. And how is that ever a bad thing? What the result of that writing is going to be is entirely up to you. Yeah. Just doing the work is always, I'm going to drop a word we're going to use in my episode next week here with cross training, right?
Oh yeah. And the thing about cuts, like, I love getting cuts. I'm not going to lie. It's validating. It's encouraging. Sometimes you actually make a little bit of money off it. And not many feelings are better than hearing your own song on the radio. It's fantastic, and the money from a hit single can be fantastic too, no doubt. But the thing is, I've thought about this. I think I might trade cuts for just being guaranteed to be able to sit in a room with a buddy every day and make up songs. Like, you'll be able to do this every day, much as you want, never get kicked out of it. You're not going to
make a living doing it.
You get to do the art every day.
Yeah.
You're not going to get any more cuts, but we'll make sure you make a living kind of thing. I think I might trade that, because as much as the validation, the external reward feels good, Well, I love the process. I think I would take that over going, yeah, we're going to get you cuts, but it's all back catalog. You'll never write another song again. I don't think I could do that. You know?
Yeah.
Even financially, you might be better off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sit in the room with buddies, make up songs. Oh, I don't think I could do that.
Well, I mean, I could be making a ton more money doing anything else other than what I'm doing right now, but I love this. I love artists. I love the music business. So I want to be here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get that. I think that whole for-profit thing, if somebody's looking down at their nose, that comes from the have-nots. Mm-hmm. That's what that comes from. There's often, not all the time, but often there's sour grapes with that. Mm-hmm. And to your point before, Brent, that's just people that are focused on the result. Yeah. You know why that sucks? Because I'm not famous. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, okay. Because I haven't made $1 million writing a song. Like, dude, like are you looking at? How do you look at the build up to the show? You know, how do you look at the build up to the hit song? Do you think it's like the person that I've written 3 songs in my life. I'm just going to see how these do.
Right.
Before I decide to write anymore. It's like already you lost. You know?
Yeah, and the question was, did you just write out of passion and success naturally flowed from that passion? It's like, no, it did not naturally flow.
Yeah.
You know, success didn't just happen as a byproduct of my passion for writing. A lot of my songwriting success is due to things out of my control, for sure. Like, you know, like the Lady Antebellum cut. It's not my fault that my co-writer bailed that day. It's not my fault that Hillary Scott's and Casey Kessel's co-writer bailed out that day. We're all supposed to be writing at Major Bob. We all hopped in a room together and ended up writing a cut that day. Not planned up until the moment we got in a room together, you know?
Right.
And then the plan kicked in, right? But that was out of my control. So it was, but the thing is, it might have been out of my control, but so much of my success, it was never unintentional. I was always intentional about writing often, intentional about learning my craft, intentional about networking. I wasn't always very good at it, but I was purposeful. So my intention to get cuts affected what kind of songs I wrote, how I chose co-writers. Even moving to Nashville was a result of this intention. And I can't say I made success pick me, but I can say I raised my hand as high as I could, as often as I could. And that made it easier for success to pick me and to find me, right? It was definitely no accident, even though it wasn't 100% under my control.
Yeah.
And so it did not just naturally flow from a passion for writing. Stephen Pressfield, I think it was him that said this, but he's a writer. He wrote this great book called The War of Art, which I highly recommend. It's an easy read. Even if you don't like reading, it'll hit you in the feels. It's great. It's a real good kick in the pants. But I think it was him that said, you know, amateur, what does that word kind of translate to? It means, you know, for the love, right? Mm-hmm. Amateurs, they do it for the love, and professional, like, oh, they do it for the money. But he actually argues that a lot of times amateurs don't love it enough. It's the pros that really love it the most, because they're the one that stake their whole future on this thing. Yeah, who loves it more? The person that just does it, you know, and won't sell their songs and they do it as a hobby. I'm an amateur. I do it. I just do it for the love, not those people that do it for money. I love it enough that I'm staking my family's eating next month on whether or not we're going to get these songs cut. And I'm staking enough. I love it enough to leave my family, you know, to move out of Arkansas, to move, you know, that's 300 miles away, and rent a room for my uncle's mother-in-law, and wait tables at Cracker Barrel, and work part-time at Blue Water Music, and go out at night and meet other writers and go to writers' rounds and spend time that other buddies were going out and having a good time. And I was sitting in my room working on lyrics and all that stuff, and then going and doing all the uncomfortable networking because I'm not that person that just can't wait to go out and meet a ton of people, to go out and meet these people and to fail and, you know, get rejected and all this stuff, so I can finally get a cut and a publishing deal. So now I can do more songwriting. Who loves it more?
Exactly.
You know,
well, exactly. Like, I love that.
I really love it.
And they commit, right? They go commit deep.
Right.
Again, it's the cross training, right? Like you can't, it's like sitting around thinking like, tomorrow I'm going to run a marathon.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, what kind of training have you been doing? I'm just going to do it. Yeah. I think I can break 2 hours. Like, no.
Yeah. No. I like to go jogging. I love it.
I like to think about going jogging,
I go jogging every now and again. I love it when I find time.
Eat a pound of bacon. And
You think the
jogging
marathon just magically happened? It naturally flowed out of my...
What you just described there is how hard work plus dedication equals luck, right? Like you create your own luck because, the luck had to present itself. But if you hadn't done all of that work,
right,
you
I wouldn't have been riding a Major Bob.
Yeah, you couldn't have walked through the door.
I wouldn't have been there for, in the Lady Antebellum case, for that happy accident to run into Hillary. It took a lot of work to get to that spot where she was right down the hall.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff. Every step, there's a lot of work that goes into that was, at the end, it's always kind of like, that was lucky.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work that bought that lottery ticket.
No, that's right. That's right. I mean, to be able to get in the room where the lottery ticket happens, right? That's number one. Mm-hmm. And then two, like to know what to do, to know exactly how this movie looks. And I know the role I'm supposed to play in this movie, in this particular situation, because that only comes from experience. That only comes from doing the work and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable.
That's right. And, does it mean that every song I've ever written or ever will write is only with an eye for profit? Does it mean that I never write a song, just for fun or just because it was something I had to say? No, it's not what that means at all. But those times are the exception, not the rule. I mean, even when I write those songs that are just like, it's got to come out, I usually try to craft them into something commercially relevant, into a commercially relevant form. Best of both worlds, right? Even with the passion songs, it's wise to write them in a way that leaves the door open for profit. I think that's, that song, That's My Job, Conway Twitty, classic Conway Twitty song. Gary Burr wrote that by himself. And I heard a thing, some interview or something he was doing. I think it was an NSAI speaker tape, but he talked about, he turned it in because he had to. But it was a very personal song about him and his dad, descriptions of his house and everything. It was his story, his life. Mm-hmm. And he was amazed that it got cut because it was just so personal that he wasn't even going to turn it in. But financially, he was obligated to. That's terms of his deal. He turned it all in. Okay, he did. And what do you know? It becomes a monster career cut for a legendary country artist. Mm-hmm. He wrote that song for passion. He didn't make a lot of profit because you write and you craft and you get your craft up high enough that even those passion things come out very well crafted and accessible to other people.
Yeah.
So you can write for both. I mean, there's a song that was cut by a Southern gospel artist called The Sermon that is one of the most, for me, like the process of writing it was the most emotional I've probably ever been writing a song. It was about my sister-in-law, Jeannie, who passed away from breast cancer. And she was in the process, she was in the last couple of months of her life when I wrote the song with Jason Cox and Michael Boggs. And there was a guy that they knew that had cancer as well. And just the song writing this thing I was bawling like a baby. Mm-hmm. And it's still sometimes, depending on
get your work
how
up.
much I'm listening, still hard to listen to. But it got recorded by someone else. Yeah. So was I writing for passion or for profit? Well, I was writing for yes is the answer. Because we still wrote in a way that was crafted because that's what we do as professionals. You still write it in a way that's crafted and it still has all the meaning to me that it did the day I wrote it. I didn't take that stuff out of it for profit. If anything, I put more of that heart into it. And that's part of what allowed it to be profitable. But then again, Southern gospel, so not much profit, but still, hopefully eternal rewards.
Right. When they say passion or I think that means like, are the lyrics trite or are you trying to say something kind of a thing? But I just want to express this sentiment that there's a pragmatism involved with a lot of what you see in art, right? In a lot of what you see in the world, there's a pragmatism, but it's coupled with luck. But in my band, I was more of I wasn't gonna win American Idol. I wasn't the guy that was gonna sit down and sing you the phone book and make you cry. So we loved vocals, we loved harmonies. So we put a lot of harmonies around our choruses in there. I've got a thing for that. I love that. I love Queen. I love the big harmony stuff. And we could do that. And everybody sang. So we could do 3 parts. We could do 4 parts. We did some cool stuff.
Cool.
It also took the spotlight away from me, right? I just had to fill in between, and the spotlight was on me, but I could entertain and I wasn't going to be, but if I might have done it differently, if I had a voice like Michael Bolton or something, or Colin Ray, I would have done it differently. So the point I'm getting to, we do amateur song demos. We get that little deal where we get people opportunity to get in and get them done at a discount. And I'll talk to people and they discuss this, Brent, and they're like, well, I got a different way of looking at the world and da-da-da. And I'm like, are you an artist? And they're like, no. And I'm like, then you got one of 2 things that you have to do. You either have to write in the way, if you want cuts, right? In a way that they're going to want to accept it. In let's say in the country music world, right, or the pop music world, they want red solo cups. Then you got to write red solo cups. That's what you got to do if you want to cut, or find an artist who gets what you're saying, who's connecting with what you're saying and how you're saying it, so you can change the world that way. But there's a pragmatism. You got to still have somebody that's going to sell it, right? Somebody's got to sell that lyric with the vocal, and who's going to do it if it's not going to be you? So then you have to think about it differently. Like, okay, what's more important, that I write this particular passion, or that my passion for writing leads me over here to where I can maybe make a living at it?
Yeah, I think it's partly finding where your art intersects with the marketplace, or gets as close as you can to make it palatable, where hopefully there's that point of intersection.
Yeah.
Where, maybe it's more artsy. But okay, can we present it in a way melodically or production wise where, it can be more palatable? And then when they listen to it a little bit more, they're like, whoa, wait a second. I thought this was just a pop country bro thing, but there's actually saying something here, or whatever it might be.
I mean, and the only way you're going to find that, again, like that's level 2, level 3, level 4, right? It's like expert level when you get there. Just do the work. Just quit giving yourself reasons not to do it.
Right.
And just go do it. Like, because if you have to love the craft. If you don't love the craft, the juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze, right? You've got to love it. Like you said, you got to love it so much that you're willing to sacrifice all this and that and the other thing and take some risks. You're never going to get the exact pitch that you want across the plate. You're still going to have to swing that bag and try to hit that curveball, right?
That's all curveballs.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So,
I mean, what are you going to do? Like it morphs constantly.
Yeah. I mean, my writing changes over time, and the thing is, what's remained constant? I love writing. Yeah, I love creating. Whether it's a Ray Stevens silly, something he does cut, or something silly he doesn't cut. I had just as much fun writing the Right Reverend Roadhog McGraw, which Ray Stevens cut, about a trucking preacher, as I did writing, Night of the Heat Lamp Burrito, which was another, Matt and I were aiming for a Ray Stevens thing. It's about one of those heat lamp burritos truckers might run into. Disgusting. And you should have thought better of it. You didn't. And it came back to haunt you.
Burrito.
Oh yeah. It's so silly, but we had a ball writing it. Ray didn't cut that one, but he cut another one. The fun of writing it was the same.
Yeah.
Then we had an extra, now I got something to hang on my wall and something to listen to, which is an extra bonus. But man, the joy in the room was the same.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about the craft. Man, when you start thinking about it like that, like you think about that, I've had trouble with that with artists. We had one artist that is a kid. He was an awesome, guitar player, amazing, amazing guitar player. And we brought him down, moved to Nashville young, started working with him. And he was like a rock guy. I was trying to see if we could take that influence and sort of use it into country, right? Yeah. I thought it would be interesting, right? And it hadn't been done, like a revved up, because he's really young, right? Tommy was like 18. And it's like, man, let's do Jerry Lee Lewis. When was the last time somebody did that? Revved up sexual lyrics, just all about being a teenager and getting into trouble and great balls of fire and all that. But let's do it instead of piano. Let's do it with guitar. I thought at the time that you could almost hear the first Black Crowes record spun on country music these days, with some of the stuff that's come out, like the Cadillac 3 and some of those are rock records.
Oh, yeah.
But all he could do is like, man, you're going to play this on country radio, maybe. And I'm like, well, yeah. That's the end. He's like, well, I'm not wearing a cowboy hat and a bunch of boots and stuff. And I'm like, nobody said you had to do that,
right.
And he's like, well, and he just one excuse after the other, he's getting scared. Yeah. And I said, bro, look, I'm never going to put you someplace where you don't belong.
Right.
And we were talking about tone, right? Because we had an issue with this tone, which is like a rite of passage for every rock guitar player. You come with all this crap, 50,000 pedals, and it sounds like a 747 taken off. There's no room for the music. It's like with all the noise from all the pedals. And I'm like, dude, go listen to AC/DC, the early AC/DC records, any AC/DC records. Like, there's not a lot of distortion on those guitars. They just played them nasty. The rhythms are played nasty. That's the way Malcolm played the guitar. It's nasty. It's dirty. It's not a shitload of distortion. Excuse my French, I said, just go play it nasty. I said, imagine yourself listening down to the record. You love every single thing about it. I said, are you there? He's like, yeah. I said, now where do you care where we sell it?
Yeah.
Why does it matter? Because it breathed over so much into that he could get away with that, but it never happened because he's just so worried about the way he envisioned the outcome. And you and I just got through saying, like, you can never envision the outcome. It just,
no.
You never think it ends up the way it ends up.
Yeah.
I mean, before you ever get into a riot, if you start talking about passion versus profit, you've already lost, kind of, right?
Yeah, you're in a different mind space. But hey, I know we're going a little bit long here, and I want to wrap this up. But I just want to encourage you can do both. It can be done for both. Yeah. You don't have to trade passion for profit or profit for passion. You can do both. Yeah. I've done it. I've seen it. I live it. So, and also, listen, I have an opportunity coming up. If you want to raise the game on your commercial songwriting, and maybe you've been writing for passion, and you're like, you know what, let's learn how to frame, but your craft just hasn't been there. Like, I want to learn how to make some decisions as I'm writing these things I'm passionate about to make them more commercially relevant, so I can hopefully get some profit out of it, or at least write some stuff that's more competitive. Or if you've been writing for profit, but so far it's been non-profit, and you want to try and make some decisions to help your songs get a little bit more, commercially relevant, we have the C4 experience coming up. So C4X, 5 nights in April. So like 2 hours a night. It's coming up. There are only, at this point, a couple spots left. And so they may already be gone by the time this airs. So if so, sorry. But basically what we're going to be diving into these 5 nights is helping you to write songs that artists want to record, that radio wants to play, and fans want to hear. And the deadline is coming up this Friday as you hear this. So the end of the month on March 2019. Won't be doing this again for another 6 months. Only a couple spots left. You can get all the details by going to giftfrombrent.com and download the free ebook. And that'll put you on the
I don't want to pay for a book
list. I don't want to pay for your book. Well, it's free. As we learned, let me say that again. It's free. Sometimes I know people have trouble hearing free and taking yes for an answer. So go to giftfrombrent.com, download the free ebook, and that'll put you on the insiders list, and that you'll get all the details. But you can also go to songwritingpro.com and look through there, and go to the store, and that if there are any spots left, you can get that there. But it's about writing songs that artists want to record, radio wants to play, and fans want to hear. And you can be passionate while writing those things.
And I tell you what, I don't care who you are, like that you should flex that muscle. You don't ever have to use it. Right. You don't ever have to use it, but you're telling me it's not worth learning, understanding more, like getting a better perspective on it, to get a wider view of the world. Like you need to know everything you can know about your craft. Yeah. And then you know what to throw away and what you want to keep, right?
Right. And then you make decisions on purpose.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of another killer C.L.I.M.B episode. Again, join the C.L.I.M.B community if you haven't done so on Facebook. Great community, people helping people, best kind of people. Most wonderful kind of people. Subscribe to the podcast so you get every single episode of Minisode in order, and you can consume them and bounce around as much as you like. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. Tell us what you think. If it's helping you, it'll help other people, and that review helps get some new people involved when they check up on the legitimacy of what's going on here. And then finally, share it. That's the best compliment you could give Brent and I. Tell somebody about it. Put it on social media. Let other people know why you like it. And we go from there. I mean, that's why we're While we're doing this podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.